And now it's time for us to grab your Birkin and head back into the time machine.
Okay.
Where are we? Oh, here we are. We're in Montreal.
Oh, okay.
Where little Gigi is there.
Okay.
Now, tell me about what you were like as a kid.
Well, as a kid, I wasn't Gigi. I was actually Gregory.
Right.
And my life in Montreal was very, very short-lived. Like, I think I moved when I was like from the ages of like 3 and 5, I want to say. So I grew up in Montreal, don't speak French, which I'm still like cursing my dad for, because whenever anyone's speaking French around me, I'm like, bitch, it sounds so beautiful.
And you're in Paris a lot.
Exactly. I'm like, can I just get anything other than je m'appelle? Right. Je m'appelle Gigi, can I have a baguette? Est-ce que je peux aller aux toilettes, s'il vous plaît? Anything. So yeah, we moved to Toronto, or like the greater Toronto area, when I was very young. So, you know, I had 2 brothers growing up. My parents were always together until my mom unfortunately passed away. So that like standard of love for me was always there. Like they were always by each other's sides. And my brothers were really, really there for me. Like when I came out as trans, it was just like, okay, like this is just, you know, this is who she is, and we're gonna like support that. And that's a lot of things that like people don't have. And that's why like I always really shout them out. My family like kept it really, 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 really 100% with me, and I know I'm blessed for that.
Because I was watching the documentary, This Is Everything, Gigi Gorgeous, which is great. The family love that you have and your brother's support really just comes really through.
Yeah, they were down. Like, you know, like my brothers, I never really like shied away from showing my true personality for them. So it's like they weren't like, oh my God, like this is completely different. This is not our like our brother anymore. It's like, okay, yeah, like this is our sister, and we're down with that, because this is always who she was.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's why whenever I get asked this a lot, like if you could go back in time and give your like younger self advice, I would be my most like authentic self so much earlier. Because if you show people, like they're gonna end up believing it. Yeah. You know, it's like maybe they'll be a little off-put or be like, that's weird or that's strange or you're different or you changed. But at the end of the day, it's like, if you show them consistently who you are, they're gonna have no choice but to be like, oh, that's that bitch. Right. You know, she's gonna be wearing that dress. She's gonna be saying these things. Like, that's just who she is. Yeah. And my brothers got that for years. So they were like,
it seemed like it, yeah.
I was like, okay.
Your brothers were doing your YouTube videos with you. I mean, they knew who you were.
Yes, yes.
So when you truly revealed yourself, it wasn't so much of a surprise.
It wasn't. For my friends, it was, though, because for me, like, I was growing up on YouTube, literally one of, like, the first boys in makeup.
Yeah.
And for me, like, when people would say, like, oh, do you want to be a girl? Or like, oh, are you gonna like, you know, be transgender or whatever? I would be like, no, this is just me. I'm just fabulous and, you know, gay, and I just live my life. But then when it really hit me what transgender was and like what I was really feeling inside, I was like, damn, these people were right all along. So now I gotta go to all my friends that I swore I wasn't and say I really am.
That's one of those things that whether you're coming out as gay, bi, trans, any of those things, like people tend to see it in you, and then you're like, oh, they were right. Now I have to admit they were right.
Yeah,
and you did it so publicly because you came out multiple times.
It's true. The power of YouTube, though, is very, like, it's very time sensitive. So for me, like, when I wanted to come out or I wanted to say something, whereas we see a lot now, like public statements or people making videos like, this is my stance on this. Like, they've had weeks to think about it. They have other stuff to post, and they're gonna take their time, which is what I did back in the day. Like, I was like, okay, I know I'm trans, I'm just gonna take a couple months to really do my thing, get everyone on board, because I don't want anyone to be really gagging as hard as I was when I found out. And really get them like accustomed to this new person that they're gonna have in their life. And then, bam, when it came time, it was like, now whoever doesn't know is gonna know.
Yeah.
And that's like, it is the power of YouTube, because it's like people that you haven't seen in years could just, you know, click your page. Like, oh, this video is being shared. Oh, bitch, who? I remember I went to school back in the day with this person, and now she's out and trans and telling her story. It's like, it reaches everyone.
Now, YouTube was such a huge thing for you, and where you became, you know, you were just a boy who liked makeup in your room. And then what was the thing that got you to start? And then what was that evolution like?
I started, honestly, because I saw a couple girls on there doing makeup, and I had just quit diving. As I talk about in the movie and the book, it was very, like, it was a pivotal, like, turnaround for me. So I was like, what the fuck do I do with my life now?
Right.
And I was like, why am I so attracted to my mom's makeup and, like, her getting ready process? Why am I watching these girls online? So it was really that. It was something that was, like, itching in the back of my head where I was like, I need to start, like, transforming myself and, like, doing makeup and just testing out eyeshadow looks and lips, and MySpace was really big back then, so I was really influenced by Jeffree Star, and just all of, like, there was a girl called Forbidden, Christina Dolce, I believe her name was, and, like, Tila Tequila, just, like, all of those people who had these...
Tila Tequila, I love that you just gave her a shout out.
I love her, I do. She was really, like, out there with her look, so, you know, like, a little kid from Canada, it's like you're just looking and you're like, oh, this is like a really different kind of person that I'm around every day.
Yeah.
So it got me thinking. It gets you like, it gets the gears going.
Now you were out at 15. Was that on camera that you came out, or that was before you started doing YouTube?
No, I came out, I wasn't out when I started YouTube, but my official coming out was when I was 15, 16, I believe.
Right.
Yeah, so I made a video and it was a moment. It was also one of the first truly, like, I'm coming out, and a lot of people in my life don't know, and this is my story, like, this is what I've been through. And, you know, people like Troye Sivan, who I'm sure you love.
Oh, yeah.
I'm obsessed with her.
Of course.
Look at her.
Look at her, she's doing it big.
Yeah, so she made a coming out video, I believe in the UK, and I remember watching that and being like, this little boy is in his room doing the same thing that I did, and it's like, wow, you wouldn't, I don't know if I would have ever met him until years later, but I feel like I knew him when I was a teenager, when not a lot of people were doing that. Like, that's like the power of YouTube.
Yeah. So you came out online, you're doing makeup videos. What's that like when you're going to school? What was the reaction from people you knew? That can't have been easy.
It was definitely not easy because it was a secret for a long time. So I felt that there was like a little bit of shame, to be honest. And like posting myself, filming myself, it was seen as weird and different, and like people weren't doing it. Like now, it's a thing.
Right,
we all
everybody's
know.
doing it, yeah.
Exactly, everyone, if they're not trying to be an influencer, they are an influencer
Yeah, exactly.
in some capacity. So it's like back then, it was like, oh, no, nobody's doing this. Nobody knows what that is, basically. So it was hush-hush, but then when it got out, the bullies that I had back then for being like, are you wearing bronzer? Are you wearing makeup? Just the littlest things that would used to get to me, I would be like, yes, I am. And you can watch my tutorial online of this. I just posted it yesterday, and you could use some tips, Gorge. And it was one of those things where it was like, okay, you know, like this person is putting themselves out there so much that we can't fuck with them. Because it's like, you know, you're showing this confidence, and it is, again, like just the power of just people seeing what you're doing. So a lot of the time, like some of the guys that used to make fun of me, some of the bitches, like the cliques in high school that used to make fun of me were just trying to be sweet to me all of a sudden. And I remember it like it was yesterday. Like high school was a while ago, but I remember being like, this bitch never talked to me, ever. And these guys were always giving me looks. And now it's like smiles and high fives and like, what's up? Do you want to be my group for science? Like, no.
Right.
No.
And you said you switched roles. You almost became the mean girl yourself.
You know, I honestly, I don't know what I'm going to tell my kids, our kids, me and Nats's kids, when we, you know, have them, because bullying is just inevitable, right? Depends on like the level of it and the severity, but I honestly think that standing up to bullies is the way to go, because that's just how I overcame them. It's like, you're not gonna take this power away from me, and I'm gonna show you that I have power too. And like, obviously violence is never the answer ever to that level, but it's like, I feel that my power was taken back from just literally what I loved. Like, look, you don't have to love it, but you gotta respect it, because like, I'm doing it.
Now, when was it, at what point did you realize that your YouTube channel was really blowing up?
I mean, there were a couple moments where YouTube kind of transferred over into like my everyday life. Like I was working at a clothing store and I got noticed there one random day. And I remember thinking like, oh my God, this bitch is seeing me with like minimal makeup because I was like a sales clerk. So I'm like thinking like, damn it, she sees me online with these gorgeous eyeshadow looks and I'm just in bronzer.
Right.
Right, and I'm in like flats.
Like I'm trying to be appropriate for work.
Exactly, I'm like, there's rules and regulations here at Blue Notes Canada. Yeah, I felt...
Shout out Blue Notes Canada.
Shout out Blue Notes. Shout out my former manager, Ivana, if you're watching this. Ivanka or Ivana.
You're like, I will not be in for my shift.